Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman, here as always with Tom Orr. Tom! How's it going?
Well, Tony, right before we started recording, we are, of course, on campus at Ohio State, and we were saying, well, you know, on the last show, multiple mowers went past, plus a fertilizing truck, which feels like, you know, if the fertilizing truck doesn't go that way, then they probably will ultimately not need to have that many mowers going that way. But either way, we're saying, well, okay, have we waited? Okay, there's no traffic, there's no anything, and as soon as we hit record, plane overhead.
Yeah, and you and Marcus recorded a morning show, and I don't recall any traffic going on while you did that.
No. It's like the Truman Show.
It is a little bit like that.
Do you feel like people are watching us right now? I don't know. I kind of get that vibe sometimes.
So anyway, thank you everybody for joining us. If you'd like more outstanding insight like this, come find us over at BuckeyeInsiders.com, where we're not just talking about traffic and mowers and planes. We're talking about Ohio State football, and would love to see you guys over there. We welcome you with open arms. Today, Tom, I want to talk about some specific Buckeyes who have essentially become maybe more important than we anticipated. I would say 5 months ago or so, where it's like, you know, maybe even pre-spring, where these guys are all maybe in the background, the periphery. Maybe they weren't even on the team yet, some of those things. But now they are like, okay, you better pay attention. And by law, we have to talk about Jay Timmons, freshman nickelback, running with the ones. Of all of the guys, the entire freshman class, you know, we saw Brock Boyd in the spring. You keep hearing about Chris Henry, and then it's just like Willie Mays Hayes, waking up out of bed and just beating all of the freshmen down the first baseline. Jay Timmons. Yeah,
he was someone who I think coming out of spring we were reasonably confident, and I mean, people you talk to within the program. This was not just us kind of speculating. This was people inside the program. It sounded like, all right, probably Terry Moore at that deep safety spot or a little at the nickel spot. That's what we saw certainly pretty much all of the spring. And Jay Timmons, there was plenty of, you know, positive buzz about him, but you hear, hey, we like this freshman a lot. You hear that a lot. That does not mean, and he's going to be starting from basically day one of fall camp. That's not what that means. That is usually like, oh, keep an eye on him. You may see him in a little bit of a situational role, and then this time next year, then you're going to be talking about it as a potential starter. That is not what this has been. This has just been, he has just sort of like shoots and ladders. He has just like, no, he just went up the ladder and he just went from space 6 to space 78. And it's like, what? How did that happen?
Yeah, I think even maybe after the first day of camp, because there was no nickel yet that first day of camp, but like even before camp, we were talking about him, he could be the dime. He's going to be the sixth defensive back end as we've seen, you know, Devin Sanchez, kind of that next guy in last year. Makes sense. Another 5-star corner, that's their role. But to go from that, which you see, I don't know, maybe 12 snaps a game, to a nickel, which you might see 40 snaps a game, and in all kinds of different situations with different kind of defensive responsibilities, it's a massive change. And so, yes, that's definitely one guy who is more important than we expected right out of the gate. The next guy I want to talk about is Beau Atkinson, defensive end, fifth-year senior. Got his feet wet as a Buckeye last year, and talking to him earlier in the week at Ohio State about like, you know, what it took and what it was like. It's just, was it physical? Was it mental? He's like, it was everything. And, you know, he spent time in the offseason working and never really thought about leaving, never thought about transferring. He had a plan and didn't want to alter it. And so, you know, he just spent his time working, getting stronger, getting better hands, more flexible. And now I think when you think back to the January last year, Zion Grady had passed him by. Zion Grady's going to be the guy this year or somebody else. Once you see a freshman pass by a fourth-year junior, you're like, that guy's done.
Yeah.
Like he's out of sight, out of mind, and that is clearly not the case now.
Right, yeah. That takes me back to Brent Musburger in 2004. Yeah. This baby's over, this race. Yeah, that's how it feels when – because you come in with this huge advantage in terms of experience and been in the strength program for years, and so then if a freshman's ahead of you, then, well, he's only going to get better and better and better, and you've kind of tapped a lot of your gains, it seems like, normally. And then it feels like Beau Atkinson is very clearly, at least as of this moment in camp, the next guy opposite Kenyatta Jackson. And, that may say something about some of the younger guys and that they haven't necessarily progressed as quickly as you'd expect. But it's also, you can just look at Beau Atkinson and he looks bigger. He looks more flexible. He's got some more bend to him, that was one of the criticisms last year. You can tell he has looked at some of the, here's where you have to improve kind of criticisms and taken those to heart and done something about them. And he definitely feels like someone who has gone from, he's in the top 4 to, he's in the top 2 right now. And, we'll see what the percentage, how those snaps are divvied up, because that does not mean he's going to play 90% of the snaps, but he's certainly going to get a good chunk of those snaps.
Yeah, and we know Quay Rousseau is going to play, and Beau Atkinson was singing the praises of Kari Wilder and Epi-Satanale. They like the depth that they've got there, and they all want to remain fresh. And I'm just interested to see how much strong side versus weak side, and how much inside Beau Atkinson is going to be playing, because he's got the size to do all of that. And he's clearly bought in, because this is a guy who absolutely could have left, and it wouldn't have shocked anybody if he did hit the portal, because, this did not go well for me. The Idaho State transfer.
Logan
George. It's it did not go well for him. What did he do? He's out of here. I think he went to Washington.
Yep.
So, that's no shade to him. It's it didn't work out. I'm going to go somewhere else. And Beau Atkinson determined to make it work out and put the work in to do that. So, yes, he has become more important than we expected. Can I give you the name of another freshman? You got something you can't say on camera right now?
Yes.
Okay. We'll just continue to move on. Simeon Caldwell.
Yes.
A safety, big safety, 6'2". I think he's listed at maybe 205 right now, something like that. Was seen as a recruit. I remember talking to him over there after a June camp, saying, "Hey, you're going to be a safety, you're going to be a linebacker." He's like, "I don't care."
Yeah.
And at that time he was 185, and now he's continued to get bigger. But somebody who just lost his black stripe on Wednesday, and we have been told working in some packages with the defense.
Yeah, and this is one I have to give you credit. You were the one. I saw that he lost his black stripe, and I thought, "Ooh, was I the one who put that on the board, or was that Tony?" Tony, son of a gun. Oh. But you get access. You don't just get access to my wit and wisdom on the Insiders board at BuckeyeInsiders.com. You also get Tony, which is it's like the fries with the burger. Yeah. It's like the In-N-Out fries with the burger.
Oh, come on.
But that was something that during the scrimmage last week, it was you're hearing we're working in a group where this is the group of guys who are going to be playing. This is not we're letting some of the twos go with or the threes go with the ones just to get them experience. This is someone who it may be not necessarily in terms of the exact role that Devin Sanchez had last year, but in terms of situationally, you're seeing a guy who's a true freshman come in. He's not going to play as many snaps as Jay Timmons, but there may be situations where he's the best fit for them. Yep. And that is certainly not something where we were talking about that 3 weeks ago, let alone 3 months ago or 6 months ago. And there's lots of stuff with him where he's he kind of fits an interesting niche where he's not totally a safety. He's big enough that he's not totally a safety, but he's not necessarily really totally a linebacker yet either. He can sort of fit in a little bit of a niche, find his own little spot. He's also Tim Walton's nephew, so he has probably been talking to he's probably talking to the Ohio State coaching staff a lot more and for a lot longer than a lot of other players would have before they showed up. So there's a lot of stuff that's just kind of, again, this is not expect to see him 60 snaps against Texas. That's not what we're saying, but he's going to be playing a lot more than we would have thought a couple weeks ago.
And so he loses his black stripe on Wednesday. We were talking about him last week because of some of the intel that we had from practice.
Yeah.
So if that sort of thing interests you, you can be a little bit ahead of the curve. Sign up over at BuckeyeInsiders.com and impress your friends or your coworkers, because I know you don't let the two mix. Whatever you do, just keep it all separate. The last guy I want to talk about, and I don't know how often we've talked about a second kicker on this show, without talking about like back in the day.
Uh-huh.
But Marcello Diomede, the transfer kicker from Notre Dame, who I don't know that we only started talking about him like last week when we saw him practicing, because it's like, well, who's this guy? Well, look at this roster, Notre Dame. Like, so we've seen him attempt some long kicks. Ryan Day said that there's a kicking competition, but maybe Marcello being more of the kickoff guy, long field goal guy. When I say long field goal guy, I saw him miss a 60-yarder a little wide left with plenty of leg in practice. And you're seeing just really freakazoid kicks nowadays, like a 70-yarder in the NFL the other day. At some point, at the end of the half, where you're like, you're at the 50.
Yeah.
You're like,
YOLO.
Right. And so why not? Because either that or risk your quarterback getting hit on a Hail Mary that, the ball is going to get to the 9-yard line.
Yeah, and Ohio State has not kicked a 50-yard field goal, has not made a 50-yard field goal in a football game since 2019. You had not heard the word COVID at the last time Ohio State made a 50-yard field goal in a game. And a 60-yard field goal this year is not out of the realm of possibility. And he's a little bit like we've talked about some of these other guys, where it's like he's got like a specific set of skills. Like he's got something that he can do that maybe no one else on the team can do. Which, Connor Hawkins is the guy that we've been talking about all year in terms of the kicking, and I think the expectations are still very, very high for him. But if you also have the guy who you can line up from, you get the ball just on, somewhere on the logo, you at least are thinking about it, and that's a real opportunity to just steal some points. And with as many close games as I think we're anticipating they're going to play, there is going to be a game that's going to come down to a field goal. Does it come down to a 38-yard field goal where it's, Ohio State fans are going, thank goodness they brought in Connor Hawkins, or is it a, like you said, right before half, this is a desperation situation. This is not something you're trying with 8 minutes left in the first quarter. But if you're in the situation at Oregon in 2024,
right,
where this is a longer kick than you think the kicker can make, then, you can have Will Howard try and pick it up, but you can also just line up from further out and give it a crack from there.
Yeah, Tom, I need you to go do some research. When was the last time Ohio State had two kickers make 50-yarders in the same season?
I'm going to guess the answer is never.
So just...
They've had two kickers in a season before. You can think through a lot of the
Nurenberger and they had some
Petrie and
Pretorius and Petrie.
Yeah,
they both had decent legs.
Yeah,
but Nurenberger had the job in 14, then lost it, and had it again. And there's like the kid from North Carolina that was in there.
Ruggles?
No, different one.
Oh,
before then. But yeah, so like they've had some two kicker systems. I guess I'll have to do it, and the answer will be never, and I'll be like, oh man, what a bunch of wasted time. But this has not been wasted time. This has just been an interesting thought experiment on like some guys that are just popping up that you'll want to know about, and the first time you see them, you'll be like, hey, I remember Marcello Diomede from the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. So I'd say if there anybody that we haven't mentioned, but you don't know because... they're unknowns right now. But so there's some names for you that have made some waves here that you can be proud to know in advance. And if you want to hit the thumbs up, we'd appreciate that. Subscribe to the channel. If you've not yet done that, please do so. Helps the algorithm, helps everybody, helps us. If you're watching on mobile and you want to hype the video, if you know how to do that, if you go into like the comments and that allows you to hype, that is always apparently a good thing as well. And of course, the absolute best way to support us, we invite you over to BuckeyeInsiders.com. Sign up, become a member, hang out with us, hang out with everybody around talking Ohio State football and many other things. So that will do it from here. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will talk to you all later.